So looking at these numbers, it's incredible. 136 million ballots counted in 2016. We're at almost 100 million, and I'm going to be dropping off my ballot after this show. What do those numbers tell you?
Well, first and foremost, they speak to tremendous enthusiasm among the voting public to have their voices heard. There are more options than ever before. Voters are taking advantage of things like early voting and casting their ballot by mail in some locations. Orange County, California, for example, there's a drive-up option, as there are in some other locations. The more, the merrier. And so there's a lot of sort of speculation about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it's, this is democracy, and voting is how we measure that. And so more is better.
Democracy in action. We have talked a lot on this show about the role of technology in counting the vote, whether it is voting machines or websites that are tallying election results. In many ways, tech can be so helpful here, but can also undermine or disrupt the process if it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. What are some things that you're watching?
Well, I think one of the things that we're watching is sort of the absence of bad news. There are lots of high-speed scanners out there working to count votes. Some states use those exclusively. Some match those up with human interaction to determine, signature verifications and different sorts of things. Not all states have begun counting yet. And so I think one of the overarching pieces to think about with technology in this election cycle especially is that with the volume that we have, we can expect that things will take longer, counting will take longer to occur. Speeds, machines run at a particular rate, and the volume has to be processed. And so waiting and having the patience to wait for every state to follow its counting process is critical. And I think it's important also to note that these counting processes have been in place for a long time. They're not brand new. They're not brand new for the 2020 election. And election officials, local election officials on the ground are exceptionally experienced in doing this work.
Technology is also involved in shining a light into the process. For example, live streaming of polling places, mobile apps with real-time wait times to get in and place your vote. Obviously, technology has advanced in the last 4 years. How will this election be different than 2016 from that perspective?
Well, I think in a couple of the ways that you indicated, technology is allowing us now to take advantage in a popularly acceptable way to look in real time through live stream. This is not different than, it's technologically more advanced, but it's really not different than the transparency that local election offices have always provided with physical viewing possible through very low-tech plate glass windows. The process has always been transparent. With the use of voting equipment has been transparent. And so technology is making that real-time experience, whether it's watching the counting process, whether it's watching an audit, whether it's watching a lookup, using a lookup app to find out where your poll site is or where the wait times might be the shortest to speed up the voting process. All of the ways that we're using technology in our regular lives, those apps and those processes are coming to the voting process.
Well, we've talked a lot about how social media has potentially undermined the process in 2016, but this morning I woke up to a tweet with a father talking about how his daughter had tracked her ballot. It hadn't made it there or gotten lost along the way. She was getting into the car for a 4-hour drive to vote in person. Talk to us about how these platforms can help can step up to the plate on this, one of the biggest tests in Facebook and Twitter's history?
Well, I think the idea of tracing your ballot is something that all of us can understand pretty easily. We know when we order from Amazon or our favorite retailer now, we can track our packages, and tracking your ballot is really no different. As with the real big variety of methods of voting in 2020, there are also now these newer apps in some places to help voters do these things. And I think there's a huge learning curve for the voter right now, and the illustration of tracking your ballot and realizing where it is, and then being able to make different decisions based on that and your own personal choices. I think that's what voters expect.
And it's